And welcome to All Business Media TV. I'm your host, Rick Delgado, and our guest today is April Ambrozy. She's the owner at Ambrozy Accounting. You can go to her website, find out more about her, what she does, at ambrozy.com. That's spelled AMBROZY.com, ambrozy.com. Or you can give her a call, 215-985-0106. And April, welcome to the show, and how are you?
I'm doing great, Rick. How are you?
I'm doing well, and thank you for spending some time with us today. Now, to be fair, you know, I'll reveal we do kind of know each other. We've done a bunch of radio interviews, but this is the first time we're actually meeting face to face.
Yeah, cool.
So, you know, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and
Sure.
About April Ambrozy.
All about me. It's all about me.
It's all about you.
Well, I am from New Jersey, and I come from a long line of accountants. My grandmother started a tax business in 1942, and we started the family business. My parents took over the business, and the fun fact about having a tax preparation business is that it's only 3 months a year, and it allows me to have 9 months off.
See, now that's the part. That's the part that intrigues me, because when we first spoke and you mentioned that, I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I guess, but my head was like, oh, she means there's no pressure. There's, you know, okay, you're still working, but you're not on. It's like when you're on and the pressure's on and you got a deadline and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you're talking about really being like April 16th. Sayonara, see you later. Kind of thing, right?
Yeah. It used to be more like that. Now that I have my own practice, like because I was working for my parents, and when I went off onto my own, I do work all year, but it's virtually. It's on the phone. It's via email, and there's not a whole lot of stuff to do.
Right.
So the bulk of the work gets done for the 3 months in the winter, which is great time to not go anywhere, not be social, and just work. Put my head down and work.
Right.
And then 9 months I have to explore, go on adventures, learn stuff, become a master at something. So it's awesome. More people should try that.
I was going to say, that's like the life people are like, wait, how do I do that?
Yeah.
Because, because a lot of times you look at, like, say, a career like a teacher. You know, teachers, they work from September through, most times it's June, at least here in the Northeast, September to June, and that's about 2.5 months off. Yeah. And people are like, wow, that's great. You have summers off, you can travel, you can do all these crazy things.
Yeah.
But you kind of put that to shame.
Yeah,
don't you?
Just a little. I get spring, summer, and fall off.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you come back to the Northeast. Your business is based out of Philadelphia.
That's right.
And like you said, you work for those 3 months, and then hasta see you later come April 16th, right? Pretty much.
I do a little pop-up now. I used to have an office for 12 months and have space, and I used to have employees, and I had a business coach at the time, and I was really kind of miserable going to work every day, and it wasn't really something that I had built a muscle for.
Right.
And I thought, well, every year I get to do something different, and one year I decided to do a accounting firm. And I was like, well, let me try this. I have accounting people, and I have an office, and let me try to do this. And the thing I realized is, you wake up every day and you have to go to work, and then every day you do that. Whereas with tax season, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. So like any kind of project work, like in the entertainment industry, you're working on a film, it's got a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it's over. You can see the end. Right. Whereas working every day is you can't see an end. It's perpetual. It's
most people see their end at a certain age, maybe reaching retirement and be like, woo, I made it.
Yeah,
and
but they're no condition to make it. By then, it's they're out of shape, they're sick, they can't go anywhere, they can't really do anything or very little. So I experience that kind of retirement life every year, and then I look out and I say to the year, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with myself this year? Because I have 9 months to figure out something, and I came back this year and I didn't do everything I wanted to do.
Oh.
I know, and it makes me so sad. I'm like, wait, I ran out of time. I got to go back to Philly and work. And so it's been amazing that when you have the time, you don't realize that how much you can do with it. And a lot of people feel like, well, I don't want to retire because I don't want to sit in front of a TV. I don't want to rot I want to
Yeah.
be productive. So they go and they get another job, and they don't realize that there's so many other things that you can do in your life
Right.
besides just work.
Right. Now, let me ask you this. Before you decided, okay, I'm going to become an accountant, were you busy, were you in another line of business?
Well, I mean, I was a kid.
Right.
I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it was a family
So you're in
business.
the kid business.
I was a kid. No, my parents twisted my arm, and they wanted me to go into the family business, and
Okay.
I didn't want to go. So I started to work for a real estate mortgage company.
Right.
And it was amazing because I learned so much about mortgages. And being an accountant, a lot of people ask about finances and how to finance this, how to buy rental property, how to finance it. And because I had the mortgage job, I knew all this stuff. I almost went and got my real estate license because it was so fascinating.
Right.
So now it was a great career stop before I went to work for my parents, because then I learned so much to be able to help people.
Right.
So yeah, that was it. That was my only other job.
Okay, so now take me through. So now you decide, okay, I'm not going to do the real estate thing. I'm gonna focus now on being an accountant, working with my parents.
Right.
Did they look at you like crazy? Like, what, April? No. Just because it's April 16th doesn't mean you stop working. You're working, right?
No, no, that's what they did.
Oh, they so.
Yeah, no, that's what they did.
They did that as well.
Yeah. I mean, I had parents all year. I had parents home all year.
Wow.
It's like, you get home from school and it's like, my parents were there.
Right. They weren't off working.
No, they weren't off working. They were home.
Well, now, so what did they do during that time? Were they just were they not as adventurous as you? Did they not travel as much?
No, they traveled. I mean, that's definitely where the travel bug came from.
Okay.
When I was 4 years old, I took my first cruise, and we would drive down to Florida and, go on a cruise.
Right.
So we did a lot of traveling. And what the funny thing is, because they used to take us out of school to travel. And it created a lot of jealousy of my classmates.
I would imagine. Geez.
Yeah, but they did a lot of traveling. They fixed up the house.
Mm-hmm.
We were little laborers. We would, I remember crawling up into the kitchen ceiling and doing electrical work for my parents. But wait, maybe I shouldn't say this.
Did they at least put a tether on you in case you got lost? They could pull you out.
I was in the attic. They had me put some kind of the cups, the recessed cups in or something, because I was tiny. And
right.
So we worked on the house, and I don't. That's a really good question. Next time I talk to them, I'm going to ask them what they did more of, because they're not as crazy as I am. I guess because they had kids, and they probably do what most parents do, which is haul their kids around to this activity and that activity.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't have to really juggle schedules to do that.
And because they were again outside of that 3-month period, like you said, they were basically home. So that must have been a benefit definitely for you growing up.
Yes.
Always know that when you get home, you're not a latchkey kid.
No.
Because a lot of kids deal with that. They get home and there's nobody there.
Yeah, I mean, we were latchkey kids for the 3 months.
Right.
So my mom would make food and put it in the freezer for us, and there was one dinner, my brother and I, we made spaghetti with ketchup because we didn't have any tomato sauce. It wasn't really good. It wasn't good at all.
That wasn't
good. She would make food for us, put it in the freezer, and we were latchkey kids.
Right.
For those 3 months.
But now, where did they get that from? Your did you say it was your grandmother that started the business?
Yeah.
Was she that way too? So it's almost
Yes.
like it's a family. It's in your DNA.
Yeah, it's kind of in my DNA, and traveling is in my DNA too, because they were taking cruises in the 30s during the Depression.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know who my grandparents were, but they were doing something right, because they were doing cruises. My dad was on a cruise the day that Cuba became
got
closed.
taken over? Right.
Yeah, and they were on a cruise to Cuba at that point. He was 16 years old.
Oh, wow.
And so they've always traveled. They still travel. It's just they don't travel as much as I do. I mean, I live out of a suitcase now for the last 3 years. I've been a global nomad. And
Yeah. So now let me ask you about that. When you now let's fast forward a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's get to you.
Okay.
Your favorite subject.
Sure.
You.
This is my favorite subject.
So now you become an accountant.
Right.
And you set up your business to be like, this is my work time. I'm dedicated from here to here.
Right.
And then at this point, at April 16th, you're like, okay, that's done. Now the next part of the year begins for you, right? What kind of planning goes into that? Because finance. I'm sure people are probably like, how the heck do you afford that? Don't you have to pay for your house? What about your electric? All that stuff. Things that most people, they normally freak out about.
Yes.
Even if they just go on a week's vacation, like, okay, who's taking my mail? Who's doing this?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's some things that are planned. There's some trips that are planned, and there's other trips that aren't planned. I mean, I know what's coming. In the past, before about 3 years ago, I closed up I rented out my apartment in the city, and I put everything into storage, and then I got a suitcase, a carry-on, and I just went traveling the world. And I went, and so I tend to only get one-way tickets, because I don't know what I'm going to do when I'm there in a particular place, or how long I'm going to stay, and what events I'm going to do. So I'm very event-driven. I'm very education-driven. So I've been spending a lot of time doing coursework and learning about business, learning about healing and energy, and going to music festivals, and so there's things that are on the calendar that are, because it's an event, and you know when you're going to leave roughly, you're going to need to go somewhere, but the rest of the time is just like, okay, someone's having a party, or my friend in San Francisco is around, and it's $39 plane from LA to San Francisco. So yeah, I'm going to get on that plane and go hang out with my friend for the weekend, and so and then feel what's right on the way out. So we talked about it. It's like living in flow, living in that state of flow, living in allowing spontaneity to happen. And that it opens the door. So a lot of times people get super stressed when they're about to leave someplace, and they lose the end of their vacation because they're so busy thinking about they're leaving, and they've got to pack, is the car, is the the tickets and the passports or whatever, and they're so busy planning something that they've already planned that they lose big chunks of time. So I don't do that. I just go, okay, I'm ready to leave. Is there a flight? If there's not a flight, then I'm not meant to go. Right. If there's a flight, I'm meant to go.
All right, so that's pretty interesting. So you're pretty much have carry on, will travel.
Yes.
So okay, so you start. So when did you start doing that? You said about 3 years ago?
3 years ago, I got rid of the house, because you know how you said it's you have the mortgage payment and you have the utility bills, and I found that I was traveling so much I was never home. And I have utility bills to pay, and so I set a lot of things on automatic pay, so that I don't forget the bills, because I totally forget unless I set something up auto pay. And I thought, I'm never home. Why am I paying for this house or this condo when I'm never home? So I just decided to rent. And I've had rental property before, so it's really easy for people to rent their homes. And so I just did that and got rid of that responsibility, and then decided to go stay with friends and family and go live with people. And it's been so incredible living with people and seeing how they live. When you go out to dinner with your friends or your family, and it's 3 hours, and you really don't get much time with them. When you live with them, it's you're just chilling you got your feet up, you're watching TV, you're drinking coffee, and those are the moments where you have these incredible conversations, and you really get deep and get to know people. So I love that. That's my favorite thing.
Now, so do you have friends in every cool city around? So you can be all right, you know what? I'm gonna see what so and so is doing, because I know one time we spoke, I called you, and I could hear something in the background. I'm like, April, where are you? And I think you said, oh, I'm in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, that's cool. And it just made me think of, the where in the world is April Ambrozy this week? Because, every week it seemed like, and I would ask you, I'm like, where are you going to be next week? And you're like, I'm not really sure, but I think California. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, that's kind of, you got to admit, that's kind of freeing to be able to be like, yeah, you know what? I think I might go here. I might go visit this friend who I haven't seen in a while. Now, do you have to set up with that and be like, look, is it okay if I come, or do you just kind of show up and be like, woohoo, I'm here?
Well, no,
I would think you probably got to let me know, right?
I do kind of if I'm in town, I can call someone and say, hey, are you around? If I happen to be, and there's no preemptive, awareness that I'm going to be there, then I'll call them and say, hey, do you want to go out? Do you want to, go get a drink or something? Otherwise, People kind of like have an open door policy with me. My friends are like, if you're in town, come stay.
Right.
So I kind of like, I'll stop. So I was going to India, and when I went to India,
Do you have friends in India?
I do now. Well, I mean, that's you go someplace, I go someplace, and then I make friends.
Right. Okay.
And then I keep them, and then I go visit them.
Right.
So I think a lot of times we meet like really cool, special people in your life, and you want to know them for a while. So I go visit them, and I make it more permanent. So I spend time with them and, you know, get to know them a little bit deeper than just like say I'm just met them or,
Right.
you know, at an event or something, and it's just like we're so busy we don't have a time to get together and you're leaving. So I think, okay, I'm just gonna go and hang out with them.
Right.
I'll go to their state. So or I'll do it like on the way. Like so, it's really long to get to India, and so there's a layover. I could do a layover in Frankfurt, or I could do a layover in the UK. Well, in UK I have friends, so I'm going to do a layover in UK, and I'm going to stay for a couple days, and I'm going to hang out with my friends, and then I'm going to go on to India, or I'm going to come back to the States. So that's kind of what I do. I look at my path and I go, let me see, who do I know? Who can I visit?
Right.
And then I'll
See if they're home.
I'll see if they're home, if they're going to be
Right.
around, and if it's okay if I stop by, and for like a month. I'm here for a month.
I'll be in the other room if you need me.
Or you know, a couple weeks or something. You know, I kind of feel it out and see what's going on. Some
Right.
people I have a open invitation for longer periods of time.
Well,
and
yeah,
other
I know
short.
people in Europe are a lot like that.
Yeah.
You know, they're very open and like come stay with us. You know,
Yes.
and it's almost like they'd almost be insulted if you didn't stay.
They were actually.
Right.
The first time I did that, the first time I had a friend in London, and I was like, I'm coming to visit, and I got a hotel room, and he was like,
Right.
you're staying with us. And I'm like, well, I got a hotel room, and they're like, no, you're supposed to stay with us. And I didn't know that.
Right.
So now I know that.
Yeah.
And now it's great.
And a lot of times when you're doing stuff like that too, you know, that's off the beaten path. You're not in the midst of the the touristy section.
Right.
You know, and you get to, like you said, you get to experience what they are really like.
Yes.
You know, not this, hey, that plastic, let's go grab a coffee.
Yeah,
Kind
exactly.
of thing. You get to see them relaxed in their home environment, and then of course they can be like, hey, you know what? Nobody knows about this spot over here. Let's go over
Right.
here for dinner, and you almost get that personalized exploring.
Right.
done.
I like it because I like to feel like I live in a place. So I test out areas where like, oh, maybe I could live here because I don't live anywhere.
Right.
So maybe I could live here. What would that be like? So, it's good to like rent a house. I like to rent Airbnb, and then
Right.
you have a kitchen. You can go to the supermarket. You can kind of check out like, well, what would this feel like? So I think I do that a lot, and I think that's really cool. And then when you have friends, then it makes it even easier because then it's like you have kind of like a built-in network of like, okay, I can live here, I can go visit my friends on the weekend or go out to dinner, and so it's kind of cool. I really like it.
Yeah, it seems like
Yeah.
you do. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you're smiling from ear to ear just talking about it. So obviously, it's something you enjoy.
It is.
Now, let me ask you this: when you are doing these things throughout the year, are they even jealous? Do they sit there and be like, man, I wish I could do what she's doing? And
Yes.
and is there a way for you to show them? Because I mean, you've kind of got this down to a bit of a science, right?
Yeah, there are ways for people to do it if they want to do it.
Right.
And we talked before about sometimes people can't really do things because of kids, and they feel like, well, my kids go to the school, I don't want to take them out because of their friends.
Right.
They might be divorced, and they've got to keep together for that relationship, for the father and mother to both see the kids. So there's a lot of limitations that people have that are like, I can't do that.
Right.
And they are self-imposed limitations, but they feel like, well, this is the best thing for the kid, and then they sacrifice what they're doing for themselves. So, I mean, that's all a choice. Like everyone has a choice of where they want to be, where they want to live, and the lifestyle that they want to live. So, for those people that want to achieve what their goals are, then like I'm happy to help them come up with a financial solution or give them encouragement and motivation to say like, these are things that we can choose and we
Right.
can accomplish. So maybe they're not as crazy as I am. My best girlfriend, she's we were in, gosh, where were we? We were in Cabo San Lucas together.
Okay.
And it was right before tax season. It was February, right before the big season starts. And I was like, oh, I was so sad. I got to go home and I got to work. And she's like, suck it up. Like, you work for so short a time. They only work for three months of the year, you know, suck it up. Like, it made her happy that I had to go and work because she does that every day. She's like, now you see how the rest of us live.
Right, now you know what it's like to be normal.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you know, where I can help them, I'll help them. But, you know, it's still like I choose something for myself pretty out there.
Right. Now, have there been any instances where maybe it's a client that you have or somebody that you met somewhere else around the world where they're like, okay, you know what, I see what you're doing. How can I do that? And can you help guide them to be like, all right, let's put a plan together, so to speak.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
that's like a coaching, that's a consulting. I'll do that for people as a, you know, phone call consultation, so I don't really have to be anywhere.
Right. You can be on the beach.
I can be in Hawaii. I can,
or in Cabo.
You know, and the reason how I can have, like, I feel like how I match my clients, how I want to work with someone is that they accept my lifestyle. Because a lot of people, they demand certainty, they demand someone to be there exactly, you know, for you. And I'm always there. There's like, we have technology. You can FaceTime, you can call. So, you know, when someone says to me, "Where are you, April?" and that's the first words out of their mouth, I'm like, okay, they're my friend, they're my client, and they're okay with this, because it's like, oh, they don't want to ask the tax question or the business or whatever the question they have. They don't want to talk about that. Like, well, where are you, April? And tell me about where you are, because that inspires them. So even though they're not living this life, it's like they live it vicariously, and they're like just inspired by that kind of lifestyle. So so I can help shift people to do that because of having the financial background and then actually knowing how to travel like this in an extreme.
You're almost like the roaming gnome.
Yes.
Without being a gnome.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
Well, I call it a global nomad. I'm a global nomad.
All right. Well, very good. Again, we're talking with our guest, April Ambrozy. She owns Ambrozy Accounting, but we're not really talking about accounting today. We're talking more about how she's actually taken her career and made it fit the life she wants to live. You can find out more about her. You can reach out to her directly at her website, ambrozy.com, or you can give her a call at 215-985-0106. Now, when somebody decides, you know, okay, I want to take this step, are there certain things that they need to do mentally to get into that mode of, to live the life that you want to live? Because a lot of times, like you said, they put these self-imposed barriers in front of themselves. How do you get them to kind of, okay, let's knock this wall down, so to speak? Yeah,
you do have to drill that stuff down. You have to kind of explore like the root of why something can't happen. It's like you know how like that 3-year-old kid is like, why, and they just want to always say why.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, and that's what that works, because it's it's really like pulling from within them, their own desire, because a lot of times they don't want to do what they think they want to do.
Right.
And that's why they're not doing it. But they're obsessing over something that they want to do that they really don't want to do. So it's this kind of internal, like they're so not aligned with who they are. So it creates a lot of pain and suffering.
Right.
So I think once you can kind of drill down, what do they really want? And sometimes people are like, they know exactly, they just don't know how to get there.
Right.
And I think a lot of times we don't really have to worry about the how. We do have to worry about a little bit, well, we shouldn't really worry, but, a little bit about like little, chinks along the way, like little, you get here, then you get there, you kick the can.
Right.
You're like, you make progress. And I think when people are making progress into the direction that they want to be in, then they're happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that sometimes with the way that again, putting those barriers up, I think it probably falls because of societal norms. This is the way everybody does it, kind of thing.
Yes.
This is the way my parents did it, their parents, and there's the way everybody I know does it, and it's almost like they've been trained this way.
Yeah.
Or I should say, we've all been trained.
We've all been
trained. Except for you,
yeah.
Because your parents
well, I was
trained you
this
a different way. Yeah.
They trained me this way,
right?
Which helped me see that that's not the way.
Right.
Well, that's not the way for me. So that helps me to see, well, there's so many other ways that people can do things that they can choose, except we're so indoctrinated with with the idea of like we need money,
Yes.
we need a paycheck,
Yes.
and we want to afford a certain lifestyle. Like, you know, I was talking to a cab driver coming into New York City, and he was like, I want to move to New Jersey. What are the taxes like in New Jersey? And I was like, well, you know, as opposed to New York City, it's like, well, if you're working in New York City, you're going to pay the same taxes as you would in New Jersey.
Right.
You're still going to pay New York. So I said, well, where do you want to live? And he goes, well, I want to live in Long Island, right? I want to live where I want to live. And he was just living, he wanted to move to New Jersey because it's cheaper, because he has this perception
Right.
that it's cheaper and that he wants to live there. But he also has a perception that he's not going to be happy.
Right.
Well, then why do it? so he's creating this whole goal to do something that isn't even going to make him happy. It's actually going to make him miserable. Instead of thinking about, well, this is where I want to live, and how can I make that happen? Like, well, do you maybe just need to do a couple more rides? Do you need to just, like, you know, pick up another job to help afford it? Or, you know, find another way to live what you want to do instead of thinking that something that you don't want to do is the solution, and
Right.
it's just going to make you more miserable.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's because of, you know, peer pressure. Again, you know, this is the way everybody else does it, so this is the way I have to do it, and
exactly.
that's not always the case. Especially, you know, a perfect example is the way you mentioned. You know, you don't have to be anywhere in particular to take a phone call.
No.
Not these days. Or to do video conferencing.
No.
If somebody wants to see your face,
No.
they can just pop open your iPhone and you can be like, all right, here I am. Don't mind the palm tree in the background.
Yes.
Or you know, the large European man with the bikini on. I know that's uncomfortable to look at. But yeah, I mean, technology makes now living a better, or I should say, a freer life kind of more possible, right?
Absolutely. And this would be my message for you, Rick.
Uh-oh. All right, here's April's message for me. Here we go.
Well, I mean, you know, what you do, you can be anywhere.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and it's like, so, you know, why not choose the place that you want to be? I mean, because we have the technology, we can do this kind of stuff with our phone or with cameras. Like, we're our own channel nowadays.
Right.
Like, I'm the channel of April, you know. So yeah, it's incredible. And like I said, it actually makes it more interesting to say, oh, where are you? Oh, what is that behind you?
Right.
Oh, show me more. Like, tell me, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I think it is a good way to disrupt people and get people to kind of think outside of like that routine, because we get stuck and we think, you know, I'm not happy with this, but I'm going to keep doing it.
Right.
And we know that's the definition of insanity,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Thinking you're going to do something enough times, you'll get a different outcome, but
Yeah.
it's always the same.
Right.
You know, and it's almost like you said, you know, the guy, the driver who
Yeah.
wants to live in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Why? Because he thinks the taxes are going to be less, but he
thinks
doesn't even
it.
want to live there.
No.
He wants to live in Long Island, so it's like, well, what are you looking to New Jersey for?
Yeah.
I mean, it smells there. I mean, I'm just saying.
I'm from New Jersey.
I know you're
Doesn't
from
smell.
New Jersey, but you don't spend a lot of time there now,
No,
do
I
you?
know. That's
It's
true.
the smell.
That's true.
Now, what about, okay, so you said you do go to these different places, Hawaii, Europe, India, and you said, you know, you take those opportunities to kind of learn things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what kind of things like, what did you learn this year? Like, where did you go and what did you learn?
Let's see. Well, I started the year in Cabo.
Okay.
And I do a practice with there's a couple, they have a program called Body-Centered Leadership, and it stems from the practice of chiropractic.
Okay.
And they use energy and the way you're holding your body, and they help you reorganize your body to reorganize and heal itself.
Okay.
So we do these immersion weekends 4 times a year. So I go do that, and I was in Palm Springs with them, forget what, Austin. So
Places that are warm.
yeah, and then they rent this big house. They do a big Airbnb, like, you know, a cook that cooks like really healthy for us, but
Right.
cooks too much, so it's still unhealthy. You know, so it's like the cookies. She still makes cookies and stuff. So I do that, and that's a really interesting weekend. I can't really describe it exactly because it's just really out there, but it's really cool practice. I went to a festival in Costa Rica with some friends. We rented a big house, and
That's cool.
17 of us got together. And
17?
Yeah,
Nice.
and not everybody showed up. The friends. So we called in. One of my friends has a mentor who lives in Costa Rica. So he came in and he gave us a 2-day lecture on kind of like manifesting and dreaming, and he's super smart in theology and history and stuff like that. So he talked to us for a couple days, and then we went to the music festival and had fun. So I don't know. It's what else have I done? I think this year has been like a lot of fun, like just visiting people. One of my friends, he got laid off, and he called me and he said, April, you're my traveling friend. I want to go traveling with you. Will you come? And I said,
Right.
yeah, I'll come. And I didn't ask him where. I didn't ask him when. And one day I'm about to go to Palm Springs for this immersion weekend for body-centered leadership. And he calls me the day before I'm leaving. And I'm in LA, and he's like, okay, April, we're going this Sunday, we're going to Southeast Asia, we're going to Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, and Myanmar, and you have to get your visas for these countries, and are you coming? And I was like, okay, let's see. I'm going to Palm Springs tomorrow. I'll just pack up all this stuff and pack when I'm in Palm Springs. And I got my visas, and yes, Sunday I was in Hanoi,
Wow.
and I met him in Hanoi.
Now, how difficult is it to get a visa that quickly? Because you're talking.
It was a few
couple
days.
days, right?
It's not difficult at all.
Really?
Well, this is the thing. It's like this is a perception. A lot of people think that they can't do things because they need enough time. And
Right.
you can get visas right in the airport. And sometimes that's better because you can go through lines quicker when you're getting a visa there as opposed to an electronic visas. But a lot of countries are now, it's all electronic, so you can just
Right.
get you can just go online and it's all digital. Just like all the stuff that we
Right,
expect, right?
yeah.
So it makes it super easy. So I found myself Sunday, three weeks, I went to Southeast Asia with my friends, and
That's kinda cool.
it was awesome. And then I got home and I got to LA, which is home at the moment,
Right.
and I was like feeling antsy. Like I was like, I don't know, I feel like a little weird. And my friend who I just got home from Southeast Asia, he's like, we're going to a festival in Mexico tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. Are you coming? And it's like 11 o'clock, and I was like, yeah, I'm coming.
Now, what kind of festival is
This
it?
is music.
Just music?
So what happens? So at these festivals, there's music, there's workshops, there's yoga, there's.
Now, are these self-improvement kind of things?
Well,
these
not-
festivals, or
Not particularly.
are they smoking a little bit of that wacky tobacco?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably more like that. But there's
Okay.
like workshops on. I was at a festival, and I don't know if you know David Wolf. It's David Avocado Wolf. He does a lot of stuff on natural, healthy alternatives to like products. But he's like a longevity guy.
Right, okay.
And he came and he did a lecture on what foods we should be eating in that environment, maybe what kind of like, Reiki or different foods that are going to help keep us energized for the weekend.
Right.
So like people come out, some pretty cool people come out and they lecture, they talk about mathematics or space or, sustainability, it's just a bunch of different cool things.
Right. And how do you go about finding these things? Now is
Well-
that something, again, it's because you're kind of clued into the area and kind of know certain things, or?
I think so. I think now, because, being from the East Coast, like, we don't have festivals. I mean, we
Right.
had the Schranksville Folk Festival, like,
Well,
and they've
I think
Woodstock
every Sunday by me there's a farmer's market.
Yeah, that's it.
No,
No, it's not like
no,
that.
it's not like that?
Not like that.
Okay.
No, because you're like camping. You're camping, or you're in an RV, and you're there for like 5 days. And when I went, I joined a group. It was called Chairman's Council, and there was 14 of us, 14 small business owners, and we came together 4 times a year, and we would be on each other's boards. So we had to create a financial plan and have some like accountability, like a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And so we would have these meetings, and we would present our business challenges and solutions. And I met this girl. She's not a girl, woman, but she has hair salons in Beverly Hills, and she wanted to be my partner. I was like, okay, I'll be your partner, but we have similar weaknesses. We have like a shiny penny syndrome, which is like, we're just easily distracted like a cat. Like, oh wait, let me go over here.
Yeah, it's like, so, squirrel.
Yeah, exactly. We're like that, and I'm like, well, this is maybe not the best combination for us, but let's work on it. And so we became friends, and she was going to a festival. She's in California, and that's where most of the festivals are happening. And she's like, do you want to come? And it was my first festival, our first RV. I drove an RV for the first time, which was a lot of fun. That's how I learned, because my friends that I met through these other events happen to live in California, and they do this stuff all the time. So they know about all these different places. Like Burning Man. Burning Man is pretty big. That's a pretty serious festival.
Yeah, and I think most people have heard of that. They can. So are you saying that all these festivals you go to are on that, kind of on that level?
To
where
the
there's a lot of
side,
naked people dancing around?
There is. The interesting thing about Burning Man is, the U.S. Navy SEALs goes there to practice. Silicon Valley CEOs go there to practice. The dynamics at Burning Man is really fascinating. Like with the U.S. Navy SEALs, there's no hierarchy. So there's no, people don't actually, there's no saluting to anyone. No one's in charge, so everybody's equal. So when they're presented with some challenge, one of the team says, okay, I'm best suited to, I'm gonna lead this. And everybody falls in line. And so they practice that at Burning Man, because there's so much going on. It's a very huge, there's probably about 88,000 people there, I think, and there's it's like a clock, and so there's music, and there's people are having workshops and lectures and all kinds of really cool stuff going on there. And so the Pentagon has sent people there. So it's a way for people to learn how to live in a state of flow, and to live as things are coming to you, and to be able to make decisions, and kind of really magical, beautiful things happen when you're in a state of flow. You're open and receiving to more things that come to you, that more better things happen. More better.
Yeah,
do you like that? I want to say that like New Orleans style.
More better stuff.
More better.
Now you just mentioned living in the flow for the second time.
Yeah.
I remember you mentioned it a little while ago.
Yeah.
But now, can you explain what that's like, and what that is for somebody who's, again, they live, just like the Joneses, who they're trying to keep up with. I need a bigger TV. I need a better car. I need a better house. My kids better be as smart as their kids. That kind of thing. But what are you talking about when you talk about living in the flow?
So originally, the scientist who did the original research on this, his name is Michele Csikszentmihalyi, and he.
Mikey. I know him.
Yeah, Mikey.
No, I know.
Mikey.
I have no clue.
Csikszentmihalyi, right? So he did all this research on different groups of people. So he did soccer moms. He did motorcycle gangs in Japan, and he researched people and said, when are people their happiest? And that's what he studied, and he coined the phrase flow. So it's like, the athlete's peak, they're like peak performance, or in the zone, or for a jazz musician, it's when they're in the pocket. So what happens in that state is about 6 chemicals, happy chemicals in us that are naturally there, they go off. And our ego drops away, so the inner self-critic drops away. And when that inner self-critic drops away, then it feels like time slows down. And then when time slows down, you have access to everything. So you're not in a state of, you're not panicking, you're not rushing, you're very present, and you're extremely happy. And things, you start to notice synchronicities, you start to see things, and then you're just kind of like, kind of bobbing and weaving, and as things come to you. And that's really what that flow state is.
Right.
There's a great book called Stealing Fire from Jamie Wheel and Stephen Kotler.
Okay.
And it's a great book, and it describes that. It talks about Burning Man and talks about that flow state. And all the different benefits of that flow state. And there's people that, that just try to live in that flow state. There's a great YouTube guy, Jason Silva. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen him? It's Shots of Awe on YouTube.
Never
He's
once.
pretty amazing guy, and he does these, he calls them espresso shots of philosophy. He's like a philosopher. And he spends about 3 minutes, kind of like in a rant, but he's in a flow state, and he's just all of the things that he knows about just comes to the front, and he can express it in a way that's just really gorgeous and beautiful. And I think that's when we're at our best. I think when we're in that state.
Right.
And I think it's a practice. It's not something that we're just born to do. I think though it's definitely a great practice though to study and just kind of let things happen. I think too many times people are they're holding on to an outcome in the way it's supposed to be, and that prevents the real most awesome outcome from happening.
Right. And because you mentioned for athletes being in the zone, mm-hmm. it reminded me of something that I forget where I heard it, but I know it was probably some sports channel where there was a quarterback, I forget what his name was, and he's like, you've got it when, because the first year in the league, rookies, everything is super fast. Yeah, everybody's coming at you super fast, things are happening, but as soon as the game slows down, and that's what you were just explaining, everything kind of slowed down.
Right.
Even though it's still 1, 2, 3, and he would have gotten hit.
Right.
But to him, it probably feels like 10 seconds because he can take his time and take a look at the defense, who's running the proper route, what's my best option, and in that 2 seconds, it's almost like 30 seconds for him because everything's slowed down to the point where he can take it all in, and like you said, just in the flow, just kind of make it all happen.
Yeah, I think coupled with that, there's another great neurologist or scientist. His name's Joe Dispenza, and he talks about kind of visioning. They've done studies to say, what Tiger Woods would do is he would maybe in his mind play out the entire game he'll say, how am I going to swing, how am I going to do this, how am I going to play this hole, then he's going to go to the next hole and the next hole. So he's envisioning for himself the entire game before it happens, and he does it over and over again in his mind. And what they've discovered, there's a great talk that Joe Dispenza gives about the research that they did, and it's really fascinating. So our subconscious can't tell the difference between things that we imagine for ourselves and the things that we actually do.
Right.
So if we imagine and envision for ourselves enough times something that in that flow state, it's just going to become automatic.
Right.
And we really don't even have to think about what we're going to do. We just do it because we've already done it. And our body just thinks, okay, we've already done that. Let's execute that program.
Yeah.
So we just do it.
Yeah. It's funny too because I have heard of that that description of, again, there's no differentiation between what the mind thinks and what you actually have done. It can't discern.
It can't.
Between reality and what you're just thinking about, which is kind of interesting because then it's like, well, what's the potential here? What are the possibilities if everybody thinks that way? Yeah. It's like you could almost say there's nothing that could possibly hold you back.
Right, exactly. Well, I was thinking about it when I first learned about it. I was like, well, instead of going to the gym, I think I'll just practice working out in my mind and really practice. Okay, I'm really going to do this squat, and I'm going to practice my form, and I'm going to really practice the bicep curls, and I'm going to do it with proper form, and I'm going to count the reps, and I'm going to do it in my mind. And I was like, it lasted I think a couple days. I'm not very disciplined.
Even in your mind, I was like, I can't even go to the gym in my head. That's a wasted membership.
Yes.
Where's the Doritos? Now let me ask you: when you are traveling around, again, and you're meeting all these people and stuff, are there certain things to kind of look out for that you would, say somebody's embarking on an adventure like maybe you do on occasion? And are there things that you would say, okay, you're going here, watch out for this, maybe pay attention for that kind of thing? Are there things we should look out for?
I'm sorry, I'm really bad at that. Like, this is something my mom probably complains about me too, because she worries because I'm super trusting of people. The first trip I took by myself was to Copenhagen, and I had a business coach, and I was telling him, I was like, I'm going to Copenhagen. I don't know anybody there. It's like I don't have anyone to meet, but I'm going to an event, so I'll make friends. And I was just like, oh, this is my first time. And he's like, oh, well, there's an app that, is kind of like, in case you get kind of like roofied or something, like someone's like gonna drug you and kidnap you. And this app is going to check in on you or call you or know your location or something like that. And I was like, why are you telling me this? You're my coach. Why are you telling me this? And he's like, oh, well, because it happened to me in Italy. He goes, I was in Italy, and I was drinking with these two girls and this guy, and they must have slipped something in his drink, and he found himself in an alley later, and all his stuff was gone.
Wow.
So there's stuff that happens, and I was just kind of like, in my mind, my first mind was like, oh, why are you telling me this? I don't want to believe that the world is like that. And he's like, because it happened to me. I'm like, okay, wait, all right, now that changes it. So there's things about, like, I don't really like to follow world news, but there are places that we shouldn't go to. There are places that we shouldn't fly around as, Americans or Westerners. So, but I kind of like don't like limitations. So I'm not really your best person for that.
Well, I mean, as long as you have Liam Neeson for your dad, he's going to find you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want Liam Neeson for my dad.
Right, exactly. Now, and it's funny too, because you always hear those stories about, oh, well, they must have drugged me, and they wake up in a bathtub full of ice and a note that says, get to the hospital because we took your kidney or something like that.
Yeah.
So you don't worry about any of that?
No, I don't worry about
stuff?
any of that stuff. I don't. I don't, because it's like I'm going to a place. Like I wandered around India for a little bit.
Did you have shoes on?
I did.
Okay, good.
I did, although I probably wouldn't have liked. I like being barefoot. But I was in India, and I went by myself. I went to go meet some people, and then I had a week in between two events, and I was just wandering around, and I was like, oh, like, this is my first time in India. Like, this is like pretty intense. India is very intense. And I asked one of my friends, and he'd been to India a lot, and I was like, do you think it's okay if I can travel through India by myself? He goes, oh yeah, the people are lovely, you'll be fine. I was like, okay. So like, I still feel like I need to check in. I still need to kind of like, there's a certain places around the world that we have to be careful, and I think it's just like being a little mindful. And that's it. And then have fun.
And that's about it. Because I don't want to think about the negative stuff.
No.
Because there's no reason to.
No, because you attract that to yourself.
Right,
it's
exactly.
like when you worry about something, it happens because you're thinking about it, and you're kind of like making it happen.
Right.
Not that, you want to make happen kidnapping. But.
Right. Well, nobody does.
Right.
But let me ask you this now. Now, being that your business is, in the finance world, right? Accounting, and I'll touch a little bit onto that because I think it might be interesting for people to be like, okay, well, now you're traveling around the world.
Right.
You are a business owner.
Yes.
What kind of cool stuff can you write off? Probably everything, right? Because you're taking classes, you're continuing education, you're doing meetings, right?
Yes. The festivals is a reach, though.
Okay.
The festivals is still a reach. Yeah, no, exactly. It's the IRS says if you're gonna like travel, that they really don't like you. Like, there was a thing where if you were a French teacher and you went to France, like, you could deduct it, and that that is gone.
Okay.
If there is an event, you have to do a lecture, and you're there for a week, and of that week, like a couple days a week, you're sightseeing. Then those days don't count.
Okay.
But your in-flight and your inbound and your outbound flights still count. But like some of the days, you might not just be able to deduct the hotel room for that night, or so and then there's like per diems, which are like government amounts that say how much you can write off for food and lodging that you can use. But you should have like some kind of business purpose, like you're either meeting a vendor, someone that's going to help you manufacture something, or even if you're looking for a job, job interviews count.
Because I remember when you were talking about the trip to Costa Rica that you rented the house, but then you brought the speaker in.
Yes, we did.
Who talked to you guys for a couple days.
Yeah.
So I figured at least those 2 days you can, because.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I try to be sensible because, like, if you think about it, like for 9 months I'm traveling. So that's my entire life as a deduction. My entire life is a deduction. So it's just about being careful, and I call it like doing a book report.
Right.
Like there's a business purpose, and you're kind of explaining why you're there and collecting stuff while you're there that shows the business intent.
Right.
So if you go and visit a manufacturer, you get their card, you have their name, you have samples and stuff like that. So that's what people just need to like have, that materials that is like the proof. They're creating a case.
Right. Okay. Now, being that of course you're right now, you're here.
Yes.
Which means you're not flying around the world.
Right.
What do you have planned once tax season is done for 2018? And do you have something that you're like, you know what? I've been wanting to go here, or so and so told me I've got to come visit this person over there, that kind of thing.
There's
anything on
there's
the menu?
an outline. I mean, like last year I had a lot planned that I was going to do, and I ended up not doing it. My mom had a stroke, and I ended up going home.
That.
No, she's fine. She's doing great.
Okay,
she's a rock
good.
star.
Good to
so
hear.
I just kind of stopped what I was doing and said, okay, I'm going to go home for a while. This year, so I'm going to pick up some of the things that I didn't do last year. One of which is to go to Bhutan. My friend and I were going to go hiking to a monastery in Bhutan.
I have no idea. What is Bhutan?
Okay, Bhutan is like
it sounds like a menu item.
Yeah, it is. it is. No, it's north of India.
Okay.
And it's still kind of relatively not a whole lot of tourists are there, but it's kind of like around the Himalayas and stuff like that.
So you might see Bigfoot.
Sasquatch.
Sasquatch? The Yeti?
Maybe.
I think it's the Yeti.
Maybe.
Yes.
Maybe. So yeah, I mean, so that's on the plate. There's my friends are going to get together in Bali. We're going to go to a festival in Bali. So we'll rent a house and we'll get together and do that. So that's going to be on the plate.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like whatever shows up. I'll go back to my, like my home bases, which is LA and San Francisco. I'd like to go visit my friend in London again, so I'd like to try to make a stop there.
That's cool.
And I'd like to, so what my favorite thing to do is really to just kind of stay in a place for a couple months and, really get to experience what it is to be there. And so I thought I would go to Bali and do that and spend like a month or two hanging out and getting to see, because I'm always searching for a place to live. And I feel like, well, I don't really need to pick, I can pick anywhere in the world. Why should I limit myself to New Jersey, New York, and Delaware and Pennsylvania?
Yeah, because it's
within proximity. I mean, I come back to work and I come back to Philadelphia, so that's like a given. But the rest of the time, I have 9 months. I can go live in an extraordinary place. So that's what I'm looking for. So I don't know, whatever shows up, I'll go.
Right. Now, when are you going to know that? Okay, you know what? I think I found where I want to live. Or maybe have you found it and you're just like, okay, I'm going to mark this off as a possibility, but I still got to keep looking, kind of thing.
Well, no. I mean, I haven't really found anything yet. I mean, my friends want me to move to LA, and I'm kind of right. I mean, LA's great. I like my family's there, and but the pollution.
Right.
And, but it is warm, and it's coming back east is really interesting because it's like the weather situation. Like we actually have to look at the weather because it might be snowing, it might be icy, or it's going to stop you from doing something. Whereas in California, it's like the weather is the same pretty much every day.
Right.
So it's I don't have to think about what I wear. I don't have to think about how is it going to rain, and we're going to have trouble driving and. So there's some differences, but that's what my friends fantasize about. They want me to they want me to move to LA.
Kind of make your 9-month home in the LA area.
Yeah,
all right.
they
Well,
would
that's
like
kind of
that.
cool.
I don't know if I'm going to do that.
I don't know if you're gonna. You don't seem like the type either.
No, I don't know. We'll see. They can dream.
I'm not saying that you're gonna finally put down stakes back in Philadelphia or New Jersey, but
Right.
I don't see you as an LA person.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Who
Yes.
knows? We'll find out more, I guess, because that unfortunately is our time with our guest, April Ambrozy. Again, she's the owner at Ambrozy Accounting. Ambrozy.com is her website. If you want to go check it out, you can reach out to her through there, ambrozy.com, or you can give her a call, 215-985-0106 is the phone number. And, maybe she'll include a map.
Yeah.
On the website. That'd be cool to find out where the heck is April Ambrozy.
I love that. Yeah, it's my new website address.
Exactly. Well, that would be a whole lot of fun, and hopefully, hopefully 2018, leads you someplace new and exciting.
Yeah. Thank you.
And then
Thank
you
you
can
for
tell
that.
us all about it.
I'm excited
and
for that.
And we can be jealous.
Thank you. I want you to be jealous.
Well, good. Again, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
You're very welcome, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.